In the year 2093, deadly monsters of unknown origin suddenly appeared and attacked humanity, which appears to be facing total destruction. These monsters were super strong and could destroy entire cities, burning all the streets and making people run away. At the same time, the crime rate around the world continued to increase year after year. It was a very dark time for the population, with everything in chaos. Chaos reigned for almost 2 years, and neither governments nor security forces could contain the wave of destruction. However, just when everything seemed lost, a mighty and mysterious figure known as Zero, the first superhero in human history, emerged in the year 2095. Who had great powers, he alone annihilated countless monsters and defeated the world's most powerful criminals. Even not only wiped out hordes of monsters, but also managed to defeat the fearsome Lord of the Demon King, slicing him in half in a fierce battle to bring back peace in the world. After this victory with his great achievements, he inspired the creation of a League of Heroes who became the hope of humanity. Thanks to his efforts, more superheroes joined the cause, and little by little, humanity was able to restore peace. However, after leading the battle that brought normality back to the world, Zero disappeared without a trace. Years later, in the year 2100, life seems to have returned to normal. We see a group of people in front of a large screen announcing the 5th film about Zero, who has become an urban legend. This is when we meet Lin Jai, the protagonist of this story, who seems annoyed by the attention the hero still receives. As he walks through the streets, he hears a group of women excitedly shouting about seeing a band of young C-rank heroes, led by a boy named Shishen. Shishen introduces himself to the public, thanking them for their support in helping his group soon rise to B rank. However, the situation quickly changes when a shot is heard from within the crowd. A group of criminals, led by someone named Hai Shu, appears angry, claiming that the heroes had injured a member of their family and, as a result, they were here to take revenge. Hai Shu, a C-rank criminal, causes panic in the crowd, making everyone run away. The band's heroes, without losing their composure, start using their powers to confront the attackers. The pianist of the group demonstrates magnetic control abilities, stealing the criminals' weapons by making the guns attracted towards him. The other members also join the battle. The drummer, using his drumsticks, manages to knock down several enemies, and the guitarist, with extreme speed, defeats others with great skill. However, Hai, the leader, does not give up easily, and after taking a powerful blow, he begins to grow in size, displaying incredible strength. What we did not know about this story is that she had orchestrated this entire fight to rise in rank. But the criminal, feeling betrayed, now only wants to defeat the leader of the musical band. While the band members try to stop Hai, a boy appears, introducing himself as Jan Chen. He claims to be an E-rank hero, the lowest rank, and wears high-power gloves. Although his attempts to stop Hai seem clumsy and unsuccessful, he does not give up. Each time he gets up after being defeated, he shows an unwavering determination that begins to catch the attention of those present. Jan, although not very strong, keeps challenging the criminal, using various gadgets that have little effect. Even so, his perseverance irritates Hai, who begins to attack with more force. Jan declares that he will protect the protagonist, Lin Jai, even if it costs him his life. This surprises Lin Jai, who cannot help but feel moved by the young man's bravery. Finally, Lin Jai decides to intervene, revealing his true power for the first time. He summons a massive amount of energy and uses it to strike Hai, leaving him unconscious with a single blow. The audience is shocked to see Lin Jai's strength, unaware that this act reveals something deeper about him. After the fight, Jan approaches Lin Jai and asks him to form a team. At that moment, a luxurious car pulls up beside them, and a woman with silver hair steps out. It is Dong, known as the Winter Sorceress, a high-ranking heroine in charge of the city's security. Dong asks what has happened, and although Jan tries to take credit for defeating Hai, he soon realizes that Lin Jai has disappeared from the scene. That same night, Lin Jai returns home only to find his sister, Yu Lin, arguing with a wealthy young man who was trying to court her. When Lin asks why she turned down the lad, she replies that her heart belongs solely to Zero, the famous legendary hero. This worries Lin Jai, as his sister must not discover his secret. He is Zero. When Yu Lin asks if he has found a job, he replies that he has not, which irritates her, and she scolds him for not helping out at home. In the middle of the argument, Jan Chen arrives at their home, offering him a well-paid job as a member of his team of heroes. The next day, reluctantly, Lin Jai accompanies Jan Chen to the Heroes Association to register. Upon entering, They are greeted by a huge statue of Zero and other heroes, which causes Lin to recall his past. Jan Chen explains that after the victory against the monsters, the government organized a system to train and rank heroes from E to SS to maintain peace. The first test Lin must pass is a physical assessment, where he faces a B-rank hero named Yatan, who is known for his formidable strength. Although it seems like a tough battle, Lin Jai displays his skill and surprises everyone by easily defeating Yatan. However, his story does not end there, as he must still face new challenges that will test both his strength and wit. A few hours later, Yatan wakes up in the hospital, recovering from the battle the day before. Beside him is Dong, who recalls with a hint of fear the impressive strength the young hero displayed during the fight, leaving her utterly astonished. As they converse, Dong tells Yatan that Lin Jai has remarkable potential, suggesting that he is on par with an A-rank hero, a high classification among heroes. However, she laments that despite his strength, the answers he gave in the admission exam were simple and always led to the same conclusion, finishing off the enemy. Meanwhile, other aspiring heroes gather around the notice board to check the exam results. Jan, also an aspiring hero, glances at Lin Jai's scores and cannot help but mock him, as he only managed to score 13 points, a score so low that not even a primary school dropout could achieve it on purpose. This public humiliation irritates Lin Jai, who walks away in frustration. However, his new friend follows him and advises that if he truly wants to become a real hero, he cannot rely solely on brute strength. He explains that even if someone is very strong, there are always limits, and that's why it's essential to form a good team to increase the chances of success. Lin Jai responds that if others are weaker than him, they will only become a burden, questioning whether someone who depends on others can truly be called a hero. As they discuss this, they witness three men with animal-like features starting to intimidate a small-built boy who had scored more points than them in the exam. The men threaten the boy, demanding that he leave the Hero Association. Lin Jai watches the scene coldly, expecting someone from the association to intervene. But everyone present ignores the situation, highlighting the hypocrisy of a system that seems to value grades over the true essence of being a hero. Despite the aggressive attitude of the three men, the small boy refuses to leave the association, arguing that they are not real heroes. His courage provokes laughter from the aggressors, who mock him by saying that being a hero like Zero, who died trying to save others, is an act of foolishness. These words ignite the anger of Lin and Jan, who decide to step in and confront the three beast men. However, the difference in strength is evident. Jan barely manages to land a blow on his opponents and ends up being easily blocked. Before the aggressors can strike back at Jan, Lin steps in and effortlessly blocks the attack, making it clear he is not afraid to face them. The three men introduce themselves as the Golden Triangle, D-rank heroes known for their brute strength and bad tempers. The tension escalates until a third boy appears unexpectedly. The beast men recognize him instantly and react with fear. He is the Divine Ghost Frightener, an E-rank boy who, despite his lower classification, is known for instilling terror. In his presence, the three aggressors quickly disperse, surprising everyone who witnessed the scene. After the three beast men flee, the E-rank boy introduces himself as Treese. Lin and Jan are astonished by how someone with such a low classification managed to intimidate the aggressors. Treese, seemingly unfazed, explains that people around that area fear him because of his reputation, though he doesn't understand why they speak to him so amicably. This makes Lin realize that Treese probably doesn't have many friends, and when he mentions this, Treese shows a picture of a magical girl from a mobile game, saying that she is his only friend. This behavior baffles the boys, but Lin, with sympathy, invites him to join their group. The three start chatting cheerfully, and soon Treese gets emotional to the point of shedding a few tears, which baffles the others. To get to know him better, they ask about his power, and he replies that it is bad luck. This puzzles them, and Treese begins to recount stories of how his life has been a string of misfortunes since he was a child. He explains that he grew up in an orphanage, being the 13th child, and one day, the place caught fire, leaving him as the only survivor. He was then moved to another orphanage, which ended up being destroyed by a flood, again leaving him as the only one to survive. Since then, wherever he went, tragedy followed him, forcing him to live on the streets. As he narrates his misfortunes, it becomes clear that his new friends start to feel uneasy and distance themselves from him. However, Treese, trying to ease the tension, comments that not everything in his life is bad. He recounts that once he was about to be attacked by a monster, but Zero saved him, the same hero the beast men mentioned, which surprises Lin, given the respect he has for that hero. Inspired by that rescue, Treese decided to become a hero, and with determination, he gives a light punch to a nearby pillar. However, his punch is strong enough to make the pillar collapse, causing an emergency evacuation. The situation worsens when a massive statue of Zero starts to fall, threatening to crush a little girl underneath. Lin acts quickly, delivering a powerful kick that destroys the statue and saves the child. This feat leaves Treese impressed, as he did not expect such a display of power. While they evacuate the building, Treese realizes that, once again, he has caused chaos due to his bad luck. Later, in the hospital, it is confirmed that, fortunately, there were no serious injuries, and Treese reunites with the group. Beside him is Yang, lying in a capsule, bandaged from the injuries he suffered during the incident. Although the rest try to downplay the situation, the doctor warns them that Yang was very lucky to be alive. Feeling guilty, Treese apologizes, but Yang, filled with rage, tells him to stay away. However, Lin defends Treese and scolds Yang for mistreating his comrade. Despite everything that has happened, the group remains united, and Treese promises to be more careful to avoid causing more problems. The team is relaxing, sunbathing on the rooftop of a building. It appears to be a peaceful scene, but in reality, they are patiently waiting for a group of criminals to gather and carry out an illegal transaction involving suspicious items. While they wait, the team organizes itself. Jan, Treese, and Lin receive information about a shipment and prepare to intercept it. Meanwhile, Yang is busy maintaining some of his gadgets, showcasing the meticulousness of the team. Finally, the criminals arrive at the location and start discussing the product they are about to sell. It is a serum with astonishing properties. It can enhance the physical abilities of anyone who consumes it. As a demonstration, one of the villains administers the serum to a subject, who almost instantly transforms into a gigantic, slimy monster, whose terrifying appearance is just the beginning of the trouble. The monster attempts to attack the villains, but one of them, with a simple remote control, manages to control it. This precise control impresses the potential buyers, who seem very interested in the product. However, just when the deal is about to be finalized, Lin's team interrupts the negotiation with style. The first to spring into action is Yang, who, using his teleportation powers, steals the villains' weapons before they can react. Next, one of the criminals orders the monster to attack, but Treese, armed with a machine gun, responds quickly, firing at the creature while using something unexpected: spicy food. It turns out the monster is sensitive to spicy food, reacting uncontrollably and attacking anyone in its path. This puts both the villains and the team of heroes in danger, as they now have to deal with an out-of-control threat. The chaos continues as the monster charges at Lin, who is busy helping Jan get up off the ground after his failed attempt to fly with propeller boots. Lin, determined to redeem himself, summons his energy hammer and, with an impressive strike, sends the monster flying through the air, propelling it directly towards the city. However, this quickly becomes a problem as the monster begins wreaking havoc on the streets. The team, aware of their responsibility, decides to pursue the creature before it causes more damage. Eventually, Lin catches up to the monster and defeats it with a single blow, causing it to explode into a cloud of slime. Jan, in a comical, reproachful tone, scolds the protagonist for having made a mess of the city. But it's not over, as Shen, in his characteristic style, suggests a solution, using one of his inventions to clean up the mess. Unfortunately, the invention fails, and his propeller boots send him crashing directly into what remains of the monster, which is beginning to regenerate. The team realizes the situation is far from over. The monster is still causing trouble and doesn't seem like it's going to stop. However, after careful observation, they discover its weak point. Jan, displaying his skill with inventions and combat prowess, charges at the creature, dodging its attacks. With his spear, he finally manages to strike the monster's weak point, purifying it and transforming it into clean water. When everything seems to have returned to calm, the team notices something strange. Yang is standing over what appears to be the wet body of a small girl. The scene causes confusion and misunderstandings among the heroes, but they soon discover that the girl might be connected to the monster they just defeated. After the confrontation, the team returns to their base, bringing along the girl they found over the monster's body. Upon arrival, they begin discussing who she is and what connection she could have with the creature they had just defeated. It is then that they discover the girl has no parents and was likely the person inside the monster, controlled by some sort of experiment. The situation becomes much more concerning, and they all try to find answers, but the problem is the girl doesn't utter a word. While they are talking, the doorbell rings and Dong appears, bringing vital information that could shed light on what has just happened. After spending some time with the team, he explains that he has been investigating an organization called Genetic Evolution, a supposed charitable enterprise that has been carrying out charitable works worldwide. They have offered homes to hundreds of orphan children, something that at first glance seems a selfless act. But behind these good deeds lies a dark secret. According to Dong, the organization is actually using these children as test subjects in genetic experiments, attempting to enhance human abilities through dangerous and unethical methods. The girl they rescued is one of these experimental children, a victim of genetic evolution's experiments, and the monster they faced was likely the result of these failed experiments. Upon hearing this, Lin enters a state of uncontrollable rage. His anger is so intense that everything around him begins to tremble, and his power unleashes a sort of small seismic wave. He cannot believe that those who are supposed to protect the innocent are allowing such horrible things to happen, and his frustration is palpable. It is here that Jan, always the voice of reason, steps in to calm him. He reminds Lin that there are high-ranking heroes involved. She confirms Shen's suspicions, explaining that despite all efforts to stop the genetic evolution organization, they always seem to be one step ahead. The situation is more serious than they imagined, and it is here that the heroine reveals a key detail. The mastermind behind this entire operation is someone within the Heroes Association itself. This takes the team completely by surprise. They cannot believe that someone in a high-ranking position within the organization that is supposed to protect the innocent is involved in such a cruel scheme. The heroine explains that after an exhaustive investigation, she discovered that the director of the Heroes Association himself, a man named Rui, is the one orchestrating everything from the shadows. Rui has been manipulating events to benefit himself, using the association's resources to cover up his illegal experiments. The team finds themselves facing a difficult decision: confront one of the most powerful leaders of the Heroes Association or find a way to stop his plans while the girl rests under their care. However, the enemy they face is not a mere low-level villain. He is someone with resources and power within the association itself, making the challenge much more complex and dangerous. A while later, out on the street, we see Lin's sister rescued during a mission and is an orphan, so he decided to take care of her temporarily. Upon hearing this, Lin's sister, though initially suspicious and thinking her brother might be involved in something shady, changes her attitude when she sees Mumu, the golden triangle, observing the group from afar. Lin notices that they're being watched but chooses not to act, so as not to worry his sister and Mumu. When they reach the shop, they find items on sale because the store is about to close in a few days, and Lin's sister asks if they should go in. They would do everything possible to get her back. When Lin asked if Dong couldn't step in to help, Dong warned him that from that night onwards, his own life would also be in danger, and that they would likely send professional assassins to ensure the mission's success. Back in the present, Jai Lin heads towards the Golden Triangle, leading them to a secluded area to avoid causing a scene. The three men thank him for choosing a discreet spot and tell him that they have orders to take Mumu. Jai Lin responds that he has no intention of letting them take her, and upon his refusal to cooperate, the group's leader prepares to force his hand. However, Lin quickly defeats them in seconds, surprised at how weak they are for agents sent by such a large organization. After the fight, Lin hurries back to his sister and Mumu, but upon arriving, his sister scolds him for taking so long to head home early because they're expecting a visitor. At that moment, they realize that Mumu is not with them, and concerned, the red-haired girl tells them she's just finishing getting dressed. When Mumu finally appears, she is wearing a lovely purple dress. Then, Lin's sister suggests that Mumu should stay with her sister. Jai is bewildered because he knows that Mumu's situation is still unresolved and that there's a risk she's in danger. However, his sister convinces him with a sweet look, reminding him that he is a hero and that he can protect them. Reluctantly, Jai Lin agrees to the idea, and although his companions are initially skeptical, they ultimately agree as well, reasoning that Mumu would be safer under their care. Despite this, Shen remains vigilant, recalling Dong's warnings about the danger surrounding Mumu. While his companions quietly discuss their next move, Shen continues to ponder how to ensure Mumu's safety. After defeating the assassin, they are alert to what might happen next. At the organization's offices, Director Ouyang is furious under control. Meanwhile, at Sheng's house, a ninja silently slips through the shadows, intent on launching an attack. Watching his screens, Sheng becomes aware of motion. His head suddenly appears to detach from his body, but it's just a trick. The ninja finds herself surrounded by mannequins with strange devices that emit terrifying sounds, causing her to scream in fright. Sheng, dressed in a bathrobe, approaches the scene, curious about the commotion. Angry at having been so easily deceived, the ninja tries to attack using what she believes to be a weapon. However, Jan stops her and confused, the ninja attempts to strike again, this time with what looks like a laser sword, but Sheng interrupts to explain that it's actually a personal hygiene device for missions. As she strikes Sheng, his robe falls off, leaving him naked, which makes his opponent even more flustered. Feeling the sofa, a mysterious man watches the house with the intention of kidnapping the girl. Just at that moment, Jai-Lin appears behind him, accusing him of being a pervert for spying on the girls. Upon landing, is completely bewildered by the hero's immense power. Jai-Lin gives a final warning, instructing the assassin to inform his boss not to try messing with the girl again. However, while regenerating, the assassin begins to unleash his original power, the power of Zero. Without hesitation, he annihilates the assassin with a single strike that splits a mountain in half, vowing never to lose anyone he loves again. Back at home, Lin's sister comes out of the bathroom and asks where he had been, to which he responds that he had stepped out to take care of business while they were occupying the bathroom. They share a light-hearted joke about the superhero movie playing on the TV, and the boys win. Later, he glances at a device containing information about Mumu and recalls that in 3 days, Rui will attempt to contact the Genetic Evolution Company. Knowing this is his only chance to free the organization, Fist, resolute in his decision to take action and restore peace, Jai-Lin is caught in a deep reflection on his past as a hero. Since he decided to retire, he has lived with the weight of his actions and motivations. He wonders whether he truly fought for justice, or if he was merely following an ideal imposed upon him by others. His thoughts take him back to a pivotal conversation with Yatan, who once told him she had met many heroes over the years, some with grand ideals but lacking the power to carry them out, and others who were highly skilled but whose egos and vanity kept them from making any real sacrifices for the common good. Amidst these memories, Jai-Lin recalls the image of Jan, a hero with relatively little power who once risked his life to save him. This act of sacrifice left a profound impact on him, serving as a constant reminder of what it truly meant to be a hero. As Jai-Lin's thoughts dwell on these experiences, he begins to forge a new resolve, to restore peace in the city no matter the cost. Hours later, Lin and his team meet with Dong, a renowned heroine. Dong explains that night, Rui, a high-profile criminal, will be in contact again with the Genetic Evolution Company, an underground organization dedicated to human experimentation. The group's mission is to obtain a sample of the enhancer serum Rui plans to sell, an extremely dangerous substance. The serum could amplify anyone's abilities to unimaginable levels, and its distribution on the black market could lead to total chaos. At any cost, they cannot fail. If the serum reaches the market, the consequences will be catastrophic. To aid them on their mission, Dong introduces Xiao, an A-rank heroine and Dong's younger sister. Xiao quickly displays her disdain for the group, viewing them as weak and ineffective. In particular, Xiao scorns Lin, prompting him to mock her height, which angers her even more. Tension rises between them until Dong tries to calm her sister, reminding her not to underestimate the group. Although Lin may not appear particularly strong, Dong firmly believes he is the only one capable of breaching Rui's defenses. At this point, Yang steps in to advise Xiao not to mess with someone so small, which leads Xiao to strike Yang in warning. Feeling humiliated, Yang wonders whether they really need her help in the group. Jan assures Dong that, despite her doubts, Lin can complete the mission on his own, as he is very powerful. Further intrigued, Xiao asks about the boy with glasses, who responds that he has no interest in joining this dangerous mission but cannot back out. Rui has sold information about his family, making them targets of persecution. The young man cannot allow his family to suffer due to his mistakes, which is why he has decided to go through with the plan despite the risk. The tension within the group is palpable, but there's no time for further discussion. Dong announces that 13 has already infiltrated the headquarters of the Genetic Evolution Company. If they fail, all their efforts will have been in vain. By nightfall, the group hides in the bushes, watching as Rui, accompanied by his goons, arrives at the exchange point. The Muscle Association, a group made up of extremely strong men, appears on the scene and starts admiring Lin's physique, which irritates our protagonist. Suddenly, a helicopter descends from the sky, and from it emerges the ninja who had attacked Shen, accompanied by a mysterious elder introduced as Mr. Gang, a dangerous ally of Rui. The Muscle Association, without waiting for Dong's signal, impulsively charges at the criminals, complicating the plan. Seeing the situation, Shen decides to join the fight, while Xiao, annoyed, tells Yang not to interfere. Soon, a battle erupts between the heroes and Rui's goons. Amidst the chaos, Lin sneaks towards Rui, looking for an opportunity to capture him, while Dong tries to prevent Mr. Gang and the ninja from escaping. Dong asks her sister to bring down the helicopter with her ice ability. But before Xiao can act, Rui calls upon one of his high-ranking assassins, a sniper known as the Hunter, who opens fire on Xiao. Although she is hit, Yang, concerned, quickly helps her. The Hunter, a corrupted hero with the ability to alter bullet trajectories, turns out to be one of the mission's greatest obstacles. With his power, approaching him without getting hurt is almost impossible. At that moment, Dong tells Jai-Lin there's been a change of plan. Now, he must face Mr. Gang, while Dong takes on Rui. Lin agrees and charges at the Elder, who immediately recognizes him as the hero who killed one of his subordinates. Just as their confrontation is about to begin, the ninja appears to attack Jai, starting a fierce battle. Meanwhile, Yang takes Xiao to a safe spot, but she merely thanks him by telling him he's a burden to her. However, this soon changes as Yang, a genius at strategizing, directs Xiao to aim her powers in a specific direction, allowing her to freeze Hunter, who was hiding stealthily in the dark. Now, Xiao is able to trust her new teammate, realizing she judged him as a burden without truly knowing him. What they did not anticipate is that the Hunter had a backup plan, something neither Xiao nor Yang could have foreseen. Xiao becomes trapped in an X-force field, and Yang is attacked brutally from behind. Things seem to have spiraled out of control, and on the other side, Dong is defeated at the hands of Rui. Rui, thrilled at having defeated his opponent, grabs Dong by the hair and raises his hand in victory. However, Dong remains calm and tells him that even though she has fallen, it does not signal the end of the heroes, as there will always be others willing to stand up to him. Seizing the opportunity, she attempts a surprise attack, creating an ice spear in her hand and throwing it at him. But Rui skillfully dodges and counters, slamming Dong to the ground with a quick, forceful move. Meanwhile, Dong's teammates are fighting their own battles, each facing tough challenges and seemingly being overpowered by their enemies. Rui mocks them, laughing at the group's weakness, and rebukes Dong as a leader, calling her a failure and declaring that she is no hero in any sense. Elsewhere, Gang, one of Rui's henchmen, makes a desperate decision and uses a special serum that enhances his abilities. This serum raises his energy to an S-rank level, comparable to the most powerful heroes. With his energy amplified, Gang vows revenge and launches himself at Lin Jai. After exchanging a few blows, however, Lin shows his superiority with ease and defeats the old man, proving that even Gang's increased power is no match for him. In another part of the battlefield, Jen is facing the ninja girl, who seems to be forced into fighting against her will. Jen, realizing the fight is unfavorable, tries to stop the battle to reason with her. He slowly approaches her, speaking calmly, asking her to stop fighting and talk things over, assuring her that he understands she is being compelled to act this way. Jen offers her a chance at a new life, telling her that if she continues down this path, she will eventually be captured or killed. As Jen gets closer, he recalls the girl's past, where no heroes came to save her. But he assures her that things have changed, that now she has someone willing to help her. Seeing the sincerity in Jen's words, the girl begins to hesitate. Jen, still moving closer, asks her what she prefers, to be a hero or to face death. After a moment of reflection, with tears in her eyes, the girl finally agrees, lowering her dagger and ending the conflict peacefully in an embrace. Meanwhile, Yang is in a critical situation. He is being repeatedly beaten by the Hunter, an enemy who has no interest in showing mercy. Desperate, Yang decides to use an artifact he has with him, but the Hunter, quick on his feet, steps aside just in time. Yang throws the artifact, but the Hunter easily deflects it and counters with a powerful kick to Yang's stomach, knocking him down. Xiao, seeing her teammate's plight, tries to negotiate with the Hunter, asking him how much Rui has paid him for all of this and offering to pay him double. However, the Hunter refuses, stating that he has professional ethics. Taking advantage of the distraction, Yang tries to punch the Hunter in the face, but the blow has no effect due to the enemy's metallic armor. Without wasting time, the Hunter begins to strike Yang repeatedly, leaving him on the ground and delivering a final blow that knocks him out. Xiao, powerless, begins to cry as she cannot help her teammates while trapped in the force field. Defeated, Yang, with the little strength he has left, asks Xiao what kind of hero she wants to be as he tries to activate a detonator. But the Hunter notices his plan and, with a decisive strike, leaves Yang unconscious, stopping his attempt. The situation forces Xiao to use a lethal technique, a skill designed to execute her opponent by freezing them on the spot. Dong, still under attack from Rui, notices the Hunter's disappearance and has a brief conversation with Rui, who tells her it is time to turn the tables. Using her ice powers, Dong freezes him in a moment of carelessness, but he laughs, warning her that even frozen, he cannot be stopped. However, she replies that she was simply buying time and calls for Lin Jai. He appears instantly, positioning himself behind Rui, and without hesitation delivers a powerful blow that sends him flying. After making sure his teammate is alright, the battle continues. Seeing that Dong has taken control of the situation, Rui realizes he is at a disadvantage. In desperation, he decides to use the enhancer serum, similar to the one Gang used earlier, but in a much larger dose. This serum transforms Rui into a monstrous creature with immense power, allowing him to launch sharp blades from his body. Wasting no time, he begins attacking Dong and her teammates, firing blades at them with deadly precision. However, Lin Jai once again demonstrates his incredible skill, blocking the attacks without taking a single scratch. Rui, surprised by Lin's resilience, begins to understand that he is facing an S-rank opponent, or possibly someone even stronger. Despite this, he does not give up and launches into a desperate attack, trying to land a blow on Lin Jai. Yet, with astounding ease, Lin evades his strikes and even manages to halt them with a single counter. Rui, in his monstrous form, continues his relentless assault, but Lin overpowers him at every turn, showing that the difference in strength is overwhelming. With a quick, precise move, Lin throws Rui into the air and leaps after him to continue the attack. Taking advantage of their aerial battle, Rui launches a series of blades towards Lin, but Lin dodges them all with agility, demonstrating his superior skill. In a decisive moment, Lin Jai unleashes his hidden power, striking Rui with a devastating blow that sends him plummeting to the ground. The impact is so intense that a star-like burst of light illuminates the sky, marking the end of the fight. Everyone present is astonished by Jai's power, and Rui, defeated, falls to the ground unconscious, slowly reverting to his human form. Once the battle is over, Dong approaches her teammates to ensure everyone is safe. With a friendly tone, Dong asks Lin if he truly is an S-rank hero. Lin, still unsure, admits that he doesn't know for certain, as he has never been properly evaluated. Meanwhile, Zhen returns, carrying in his arms the ninja girl whom he convinced to join their team. Zhen explains to Dong and the rest that, after an honest conversation, she decided to switch sides and accept their offer to join them. Although the situation has been challenging, victory now seems to be on their side. The group takes a moment to celebrate, relieved that it is all over and that each of them is safe. However, their peace is short-lived, as they are interrupted by Xiao, who arrives carrying an injured and unconscious Yang over her shoulders. Xiao, crying, begs for help for the young man, and a sense of concern fills them all. Some of the injured members of the group are in hospital, recovering from a recent intense battle. As they rest, the news reports on the capture of a group of criminals during an illegal exchange. This enraged Jan, who is visibly upset despite his improved health due to the treatment he's received. He feels disappointed because it was his team who caught the villains, yet the media hasn't mentioned a single word about them. Xiao, his companion, explains that Rui's family is very powerful, and if they discover the identity of Yang's group, they will surely retaliate. Despite his anger, Xiao tries to distract him by feeding him. Although Zhan remains annoyed but also somewhat flustered because the two of them are now quite close, whereas before, they couldn't stand each other and would always argue. Shen, resting on the stretcher next to him, interrupts the moment with some advice. He tells Zhan that a true hero must perform deeds without expecting recognition. This lesson somewhat calms Zhan, though he remains a bit frustrated. Just then, the ninja, now dressed in a maid's outfit, offers Shen some apple slices, tending to him carefully. The tension in the room seems to ease as Lin Jai suddenly enters. Jan tells him that he admires him for being alive and so full of energy, to which the protagonist responds that he's surprised Jan even survived. Lin takes the opportunity to ask about Dong, who has been missing since the incident around a week ago. At that moment, Xiao's sister appears behind him, joking about whether he already misses her or has perhaps fallen for her. After a light-hearted yet slightly cheeky conversation, Dong mentions that after witnessing the battle, she has decided to contact the Heroes Club for everyone to receive special training. Everyone, except Lin Jai, accepts the challenge. He, confident in his abilities, declares he doesn't need any training as he's already strong enough. This statement annoys the group, who consider him arrogant. Xiao calls him stupid for believing himself invincible just because he defeated 2 rank A opponents. She reminds him that above rank A, there are rank S and SS heroes, whom he couldn't possibly defeat, even with his strength. The protagonist, however, replies with confidence, affirming he could beat them all at once. I need Lin Jai's confidence in my life. Provoked by Lin Jai's words, the group decides to put him to the test. They all head up to the building's rooftop to confront him. The scene becomes filled with action as Xiao, Sheng, Dong, and Fei the ninja girl launch an attack at incredible speed. But Lin effortlessly dodges each strike. They attempt to hit him with all their strength, but none of the attacks leave a mark. Lin scolds them for their lack of coordination, which only enraged Xiao more. She charges at him again in direct combat, but she is quickly overpowered and sent flying from the impact of his blow. However, Faye manages to intercept her in midair before she hits the ground. Faye then decides to get serious and, removing her maid outfit, reveals a combat suit. Alongside Dong, she launches another attack, using her ice abilities to create a giant pillar under Lin's feet. But with a single punch, Lin shatters the pillar. Dong tries to use the flying ice fragments to form a lotus-shaped trap around Lin, hoping to seal him inside. However, her effort proves futile as Lin breaks through the trap with another punch and knocks Dong out just as effortlessly. At that moment, Faye seizes the distraction to attack Lin from behind. But he, with a swift turn, brings her down with a kick. Amidst the confusion, Lin remembers that Shen is also part of the fight and realizes Shen has been trying to slip away to avoid the same fate as his teammates. But his cunning is of no use as he, too, ends up getting beaten. After the rooftop training session, tensions among the heroes seem to rise a bit. While some of them acknowledge they need to improve their skills and train more, Lin remains convinced that his power is more than enough to face any threat. That same evening, at Jai's house, things are rather tense when his sister discovers he has brought a dog home. This causes conflict between them, as the protagonist's sister considers it irresponsible to adopt a stray animal when he can't even earn money to support the family. However, both Lin, Momo, and the little dog make sad faces, which eventually convinces his sister to accept the animal. Despite giving in to the charms of the puppy and her brother, she decides to take action. The following day, she is seen at her workplace, a genetic enhancement lab. She decides to use the dog as a test subject to increase its intelligence, to prevent it from causing trouble at home. While conducting the experiments, she receives a call from Dr. Qin, who informs her that she doesn't need to accompany him that day. He asks her to stay in her area, working on her experiments. Meanwhile, back in the lab, the tension escalates. Dr. Qin is accompanied by several men, including Rui, who is unconscious and in a critical mental state due to the damage from his last battle. Rui's family patriarch is also present, closely observing the situation. Dr. Qin explains that Rui's memories have become muddled, and he has lost the ability to think clearly about complex matters. Enraged by this, the patriarch decides to end Rui's life using his powers, justifying it by saying that if Rui can't be cured, then he is trash unworthy of his family. After eliminating Rui, the patriarch turns to Dr. Qin, demanding that he accelerate the research project. After giving him several orders, the patriarch leaves the lab. The tension does not subside, as Yang Dong, Dong's older brother and a corrupt individual, appears immediately afterward. Yang Dong has a brief conversation with Dr. Qin about Rui's condition, and it's revealed that both families are collaborating on a project to sell an enhancement serum. As the conversation ends, the doctor mentions a lack of personnel to progress quickly with the project. But Yang Dong has brought in another man, a specialized doctor, to assist. After threatening the doctor, Yang Dong leaves. Back with the protagonist and his team, after training, they gather again to talk. Dong, still annoyed by Lin's remarks, tries to flirt with him, but he fails to notice that she's attracted to him. Suddenly, Shen, the leader of the band, appears, impressed by Lin's closeness with Dong, and asks him to be his mentor and teach him how to become a true hero. However, Lin refuses in every possible way, making it clear to Shi that he has no interest in training him. At that moment, the scene shifts to a meeting where the new director of the Hero Association is about to be announced. To everyone's surprise, Yang Dong is introduced as the new director. After delivering a speech, the audience applauds him. But we see the serious expression on Dong's face as she approaches her brother. In a private conversation, it's revealed that Dong will be forced into an arranged marriage within a few days, organized by her family. Yang Dong, in an act of cruelty, grabs her face roughly and reminds her that no one, not even her friends, will be able to help her escape this situation. After making her cry in frustration, Yang Dong leaves. However, Dong's older brother notices the presence of her friends standing behind the door. He invites them in, and after a brief conversation, Yang Dong addresses Lin. He knows Lin was the one who defeated Rui and the elite forces of the Genetic Evolution Corporation. Impressed by his strength, he asks if Lin would like to join his family and continue rising. But Lin Jai, true to form, bluntly refuses. Yang Dong, noticeably offended, says it's a shame but that the doors of his family will always be open if he changes his mind. Yet Lin, ever arrogant, not only rejects the offer but also ups the stakes, inviting Yang Dong to try killing him as he feels his hand on his shoulder. Shocked by Lin's words, Dong tries to warn him to tone it down, as things might not end well if he continues this way. Dong attempts to impose his power over Lin by increasing his energy overwhelmingly, intending to force him to kneel. However, his effort proves useless. Lin calmly raises his aura and immediately forces Dong to step back, who ends up bleeding from the pressure. The battle for supremacy concludes decisively, and the protagonist hurries to check on his friends. Dong, visibly affected, runs to her brother to ask why he did all of this. Her brother replies that he simply wanted to test the boy's strength, although internally, he is furious. His real aim was to establish his dominance, but the defeat makes him feel he has lost and that he is inferior to Lin. Frustrated, he withdraws from the scene. The group leaves the building, worried about what has happened. The situation leaves them with a bad feeling, and they all agree that Dong is in trouble. The protagonist warns that they must be more vigilant from now on and orders 3 of his companions to investigate the situation, although not all of them are entirely convinced. Eventually, they agree to the request. Suddenly, Lin receives a call from his sister. She informs him that the experiment with the dog has been a success and asks him to come and collect it. After hanging up, a new doctor appears in the laboratory, and the sister explains that the experiment was a complete success, as the dog is now able to read. The doctor is astonished and congratulates the girl before leaving. Meanwhile, the sister's suitor arrives to warn her that she should escape, as Dr. Qin is being blackmailed, and tensions could escalate into conflict. The sister, concerned, decides that she must stay to protect Dr. Qin, ignoring her suitor's warnings. The young man, frustrated, calls his agents to investigate and protect the laboratory. Meanwhile, Shen and the protagonist walk through the streets and notice someone suspicious watching Dr. Qin's building. They decide to approach and discover a mysterious young woman, whom they detain to gather information. High up on a building, 3 other individuals are also observing the laboratory, and one of them wonders where their companion is. Shortly after, Lin appears carrying her under his arm, having beaten up the group she was working with. They check everyone to find out who they are working for. Among the belongings, they find a medallion indicating it belongs to one of the 8 great families, the Tian group, linked to the Long family, from which the protagonist's sister's suitor comes. After discovering the medallion, the protagonist is enraged, believing the Tian group is trying to take his sister by force. Shortly afterwards, Tian's group members contact him to report that they have been completely defeated. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, Lin gives his sister a pendant and tells her that if the situation worsens, she should press the button so he can come and protect her immediately. The sister recalls Tian's warning and, to avoid involving her brother, acts as though she is unaware of any danger. She excuses herself by saying they are just researchers and not involved in greater issues, attempting to stop her brother's overprotectiveness. She then asks him to take the dog and allow her to continue with her experiments. After a brief conversation, Shen takes responsibility for the dog, as being wealthy, he will have no trouble covering the costs involved. 2 days later, Treese continues investigating Dr. Qin. During his surveillance, he is surprised to see Dong putting on makeup at home until he notices the arrival of a vehicle from which a blonde man named Yu steps out. He appears to be the woman's suitor, and he thanks her for defeating Rui, which has allowed him to become the official heir of the family. Yu's cold and arrogant words anger Dong, who insults him, provoking a violent reaction. Yu pushes the young woman to the ground and, mocking her, forces her into the vehicle. At that moment, a group of muscular men from Dong's organization appears to defend her honor, but Yu's underlings block their way. Yu introduces himself as the girl's future husband, but that does not matter to Dong's defenders, who only see Yu mistreating the young woman. They launch into a fight but are unable to harm Yu's men, who turn out to be robots that quickly dominate the fight. Desperate, Dong begs Yu to stop the robots, but Yu forces her to watch as her companions are beaten and paralyzed. The helplessness drives the girl to threaten Yu with an ice blade at his throat. At that instant, a bullet shatters the vehicle's glass, aimed directly at Yu, but he catches it with his fingers and returns it, injuring the shooter, who we know to be Treese. Yu then reveals he possesses the power to kill through the air, and he attacks Treese with a powerful cut that gravely wounds him. Tired of the game, Yu decides to leave following Dong's pleas, who promises to do whatever he wishes to save her friends. Before leaving, Yu forces Dong to watch as her companions are left in very poor condition, lying on the ground. When Yu's vehicle finally leaves, the robots receive a new order to eliminate everyone present. The situation grows more dangerous, making it clear that the fight for survival is far from over and that many powerful people are behind all these acts of violence. Treese finds himself in mortal danger, cornered by a group of robots preparing to shoot and end his life. However, just before one of the robots fires, Lin Jai appears unexpectedly to rescue him. Summoning an impressive flaming sword, the hero charges into the battle, destroying the first robot with a precise strike. The explosion alerts the other machines, which gather to attack, yet, despite all firing simultaneously, not a single shot lands. One by one, the robots are dismantled by the protagonist, showcasing an unmatched level of skill and dexterity. When the last of the robots falls defeated, a notification alerts U, who cannot help but be astonished as he realizes someone has eliminated all his machines. Intrigued by the situation, U opens a hologram to see what is happening and discovers Lin Jai wielding an extraordinarily powerful flaming sword. This detail catches his attention, as he recognizes the weapon as a sacred sword containing the spirit of fire. Immediately, U informs Dong of what he has seen, acknowledging Lin's prowess. U thanks Dong for delivering such an incomparable weapon as a gift. Upon learning that it is the Young family behind the recent troubles, Lin decides he cannot sit idly by. Although his companions suggest they should first prioritize tending to the injured, Lin swears to Treese that he will avenge him and rescue Miss Dong. Later, everyone gathers at Yan's house to plan how to save the woman who has been abducted. But just as they begin devising the plan, Yan questions if they have lost their minds, warning them that facing the Rui family is suicide, given they are one of the most powerful families and possess an advanced legion of robots. Jan tries to convince them to reconsider, yet his companions remain resolute in their decision, explaining that they cannot abandon their friend. Ultimately, they manage to persuade Yan to join them, and at that moment, Shishen arrives to offer his assistance. Following a brief conversation, they begin to formulate a plan to rescue the woman. Fei gains access to the security system of the mansion where Dong is being held, with the aid of the super intelligent dog that has enhanced its skills. With security access secured, Fei examines the building's layout and reveals that a commitment ceremony is being prepared within the mansion. Fei discloses to everyone that Dong is being forced into marriage to forge an alliance between the families. Upon learning that his friend is being treated as a mere bargaining chip, Lin becomes enraged. However, Jen cautions that they must act with care to avoid further injuries, as had occurred with the Muscle Group and Treese. They eventually agree on a plan that involves creating a diversion at the building's gates to draw attention, with the help of Shi and his followers. Meanwhile, the protagonist, Yan and Jan, will infiltrate the building from the wall, with Fei guiding them through the computer systems and deactivating security. As all this unfolds, inside the building, Xiao converses with her sister Dong about the ceremony. She asks if Dong is genuinely willing to accept the marriage, and although Dong tries to reassure her by saying it's a decision she's made herself, her true feelings appear more complex. At that moment, Wu enters the room accompanied by a young man who seems to be a friend of Xiao, and eventually convinces her to step out for some air. Once they are alone, Wu seizes the opportunity to confront Dong, interrogating her about the protagonist, as he is interested in acquiring the sacred sword he wields. Once inside the building, Young questions why Lin is wearing a mask. He explains that it is to conceal his identity, as everyone is expecting him precisely. Although they change their approach, they are soon discovered by Xiao, who approaches them accompanied. This situation makes Yan visibly jealous. While he attempts to speak with the couple to buy some time, Jen and Lin Jai take the opportunity to slip past and reach a door guarded by security. It is then that Jen remarks that it's the perfect time to act as a hero and decides to distract the guards, allowing our hero to slip into the room. Upon entering, they come face to face with Dong. Lin reveals that they have come to rescue her, but she refuses to leave, stating that she cannot abandon her family. She even attempts to fight him to convince him that she is resolute about staying. However, he restrains her, assuring her that she is immensely important to him, and he will not allow her to be left behind, nor let the Muscle Association and Treese risk their lives in vain. Seeing Dong on the verge of despair, Lin solemnly promises that once he rescues her, no one else will have to make sacrifices. Then, with a powerful strike from his spear, he breaks down one of the walls of the room, opening an escape route. Seizing the chance for freedom, Dong takes the hero's hand, and together they sprint towards their liberation. During the escape attempt, our hero and Dong reunite with Yang, who is being brutally beaten by U's robots, who observed the situation with an air of superiority, confident in his control. Lin Jai, seeing Dong absolutely furious, tries to calm her and, without a second thought, steps between her and the robots. He then turns to U and remarks that it's a shame two entire families depend on just one woman, referring to the pressure placed on Dong. Our hero, determined, removes his mask, revealing his identity, which visibly angers U, prompting him to challenge our hero to a duel to determine the true victor. The terms are clear: if the protagonist wins, he and his friends can walk away free. But if U emerges victorious, our hero must surrender the Spirit Fire Sword, a legendary weapon lost for a long time. Dong is uneasy about this, knowing that U is one of the most powerful young men in his family. However, Lin reassures her once again, affirming that he also possesses considerable strength, which further enraged Zhu, who finds himself face to face with someone seemingly even more arrogant than he is. Without wasting any more time, Wu leads our hero to the combat arena, prepared to settle everything in a duel. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Yan tries to convince the rich boy that Xiao isn't interested in handsome and seductive guys. This makes Xiao, embarrassed, react by punching Yan on the head as she visibly fumes and blushes. Amidst the confusion, she asks Jan what he's doing there, to which he responds that he came to rescue Miss Dong, surprising Xiao since, according to her sister, there was no issue. Back in the arena, both family groups gather to witness the confrontation, which Wu presents as the main event of the union celebration between the families. He reiterates the duel's terms. If he wins, he will marry Dong and receive the spirit fire sword from our hero. The family elders recognize this sword as a divine weapon that had vanished long ago, its whereabouts unknown. After a brief discussion about Dong's escape attempt, her brother, clearly annoyed, leaves the area. The fight is about to begin, and Wu prepares by leaping powerfully into the arena. He announces that there is a force field around the platform that repels attacks, so there will be no need to hold back during the battle. Hearing this, Lin summons a beautiful jade spear, surprising Wu, who had expected him to wield the spirit fire sword. Nevertheless, Wu remains confident and boasts that he will defeat him with just one finger. The duel begins, and in an instant, Wu starts launching powerful energy slashes. Our hero, with little effort, manages to block them and quickly moves into counterattack. What follows is an intense exchange of blows, where both display their skill and power, and, to be honest, neither appears to have the upper hand. In the midst of the battle, Wu creates a shield and manages to find a small opening in our hero's defense, unleashing an energy slash that, fortunately, only manages to slice off a strand of his hair. Both continue to fight, even clashing their fists, and creating powerful shockwaves that resonate throughout the arena. The battle seems to thrill Wu greatly, who decides to get more serious. Using his fingers, he fires energy bullets at a dizzying speed, seeking any weakness in our hero. However, he skillfully defends himself with his spear, blocking each shot precisely. The explosions from the projectiles raise a large cloud of dust around them, momentarily concealing Wu's figure. He tries to take advantage of this to attack Lin from behind, but as if anticipating the move, our hero effortlessly turns and hurls his spear, which Wu barely dodges. At that moment, our hero seizes the opportunity to surprise his opponent by using his own tactic against him. He moves swiftly behind him and delivers a powerful kick, slamming him forcefully into the ground. The crowd is amazed at such a display of skill, while Lin Jai retrieves his weapon. Wu, grateful for his protective gear, gets up with difficulty, and using his powers, begins hurling rocks through the air towards our hero. He dodges the stones with agility and attempts to counterattack with full force. As our protagonist charges in, the enemy creates multiple shields to protect himself, but he quickly realizes they are easily sliced through like butter by Lin's jade spear. Just before his last shield is destroyed, Wu pushes against the spear's blade to deflect the strike, thus avoiding direct harm. However, Lin reacts swiftly, landing a powerful punch to Wu's face, sending him back several meters. Determined to end the fight, our hero raises his spear and generates a majestic dragon of energy that emerges from it. Desperate, Wu tries to defend himself by creating a rock wall, but it is shattered by the dragon, which manages to cut across his chest. While this happens, Lin Jai tells him that this cut is vengeance for his friend Trees, making it clear his resolve goes beyond just winning the fight. These words enrage Wu, who, using all the power he has left, creates a gigantic massive energy so powerful that it shatters the force field around the arena. Believing he has secured victory, Wu launches his final attack. However, to his surprise, the attack never reaches Lin Jai, who, displaying remarkable calm, blocks the energy surge and, with impressive speed, delivers another powerful kick that strikes Wu's face directly, knocking him out of the arena and decisively ending the battle. Humiliated and filled with rage over his defeat, Wu refuses to accept his loss. In a last desperate attempt, he pulls out a hidden scroll, which immediately alerts one of the elders present, who quickly orders all spectators to leave the arena. Suddenly, a massive explosion destroys the entire arena, and Dong and Xiao run towards the ruins to see if their friend is safe. Meanwhile, the elders discuss the scroll with concern, which turns out to be a forbidden curse technique created by a powerful SS rank master. Both agree that using such a technique in that place is complete madness, and they fear the potential consequences of what might happen. Fortunately, the group emerges unharmed from the explosion, although the tension in the air is palpable as they watch Wu emerging from the smoke, but with a different appearance. It's evident that the curse has transformed him, and his thirst for vengeance has intensified. The group's worry grows as they fail to find Lin, but to everyone's relief, he appears unharmed, calming them down and assuring them that, once he defeats Wu, they will all return home together. Enraged by our hero's confidence, Wu launches a powerful energy ray with the intent of finishing them all off in one blow. However, Lin Jai, charging his spear with energy, performs a single slash that deflects the ray, and, without a moment's delay, lunges at Wu and strikes him once more, leaving him completely out of action. To ensure Wu won't misuse his power again, Lin Jai takes a picture of him in his moment of defeat, a gesture that symbolizes Wu's humiliation and leaves him marked forever. The victory fills Dong with happiness, and, overjoyed, she runs into our hero's arms with the intention of hugging him and thanking him for saving her. However, before she can do so, a mysterious energy wave paralyzes everyone, leaving them speechless as they witness what is happening. Yongdong is connected to a machine that amplifies his psychic power. Under the influence of a drug that enhances his abilities, he recalls his childhood dream: to become a hero, inspired by the legendary figure Zero. Since he was young, Yongdong admired Zero so deeply that he saw him as a god, longing to shine just as brightly one day. Thanks to his connection with the machine, Yongdong's power begins to increase dramatically, transforming him in a way that requires sacrificing his hair, but granting him the ability to float in the air. His new presence is so imposing that the sky darkens, covered in storm clouds, as he rises like a superhuman figure. From the ground, Lin Jai observes his new enemy, who openly challenges his power. Despite his newfound strength, Yongdong realizes that even with his immense power, he cannot fully penetrate our hero's mental realm. At that moment, Yongdong summons a tiger made of spiritual energy and hurls it at Lin Jai. However, Lin Jai shatters it with ease, as though it were glass. This display of strength allows our hero to wound Yongdong, making him bleed, something that seemed impossible. Infuriated by this attack, the villain wipes the blood from his nose and reproaches his future brother-in-law for daring to challenge him. He even shows him that everyone around is kneeling before him, as though he were a supreme deity, though Lin, in his mocking way, tells him that he's just a bald man who thinks himself a god. Bathed in a ray of light piercing through the clouds, Yongdong gives Lin one last chance to kneel before him, warning him that if he doesn't, he will kill him without hesitation. Far from intimidated, our hero takes an even more determined stance, prompting Yongdong to smile in satisfaction, believing this will be the perfect opportunity to demonstrate his absolute power. Without further ado, the villain creates several tornadoes around himself, directing them towards Lin Jai with the intent to crush him. Lin summons his emerald spear and, with quick, precise movements, dodges the tornadoes, suddenly appearing behind Yongdong. In an intense exchange of blows, our hero questions the villain about the purpose of being a god if it means being alone. Yongdong replies that under his rule, there will be no sin or disputes, to which our hero responds that, by acting as he does, he himself has become the origin of those problems. Irritated by Lin Jai's words, Yongdong summons an energy sphere, which he uses to surprise him and hurl him violently to the ground. Seizing this opening, the villain uses his mental power to invade our hero's subconscious. Once inside, Yongdong is horrified to confront all the monsters our hero has fought, a vision that impacts him deeply. Among the images, he sees the protagonist in the distance, holding the lifeless body of a girl. However, as he tries to get closer, the young man looks up, his gaze filled with fury, and shocks Yongdong, ejecting him forcefully from his mind. Back in the real world, our protagonist begins to be surrounded by a dark energy that condenses around his body, forming an armor. With an impressive display of power, he reveals his true identity, Zero, the legendary hero. Seeing Zero before him, Yongdong is left utterly perplexed, experiencing a mixture of terror and rage. He cannot accept that the hero of legend stands before him. He believes it must be an imposter. With this conviction, he launches another attack, summoning tornadoes that Zero effortlessly disperses with a mere movement of his sword. After dispersing the tornadoes, Zero unleashes a devastating attack, creating a powerful laser that cuts through the sky and pierces the dark clouds, heading straight for Yongdong. Realizing the hero's immense power, Yongdong has no choice but to summon a giant spiritual warrior to defend himself. The colossal creature lunges at Zero, attempting to crush him with a massive punch, but Zero dodges with agility, demonstrating that his strength and speed are on another level. During the fight, Zero counterattacks with a special technique, launching a beam of energy that pierces through the spiritual warrior, destroying it completely and causing Yongdong to fall hard to the ground. Despite Zero's clear advantage, Yongdong refuses to surrender. His pride and arrogance drive him to make one last effort, using his mental power to create a technique that encircles Zero, but Zero counters with an attack that appears as red threads. These threads combine to form another blast of energy that launches directly at Yangdong. Zero remains unfazed. He raises his sword, generating a barrier that blocks the attack, and with a firm movement, he counters with an explosion of energy that destabilizes Yangdong. The energy from Zero's sword creates such an intense light that it illuminates the entire area, dissipating the clouds and demonstrating his absolute dominance over the battlefield. Exhausted and injured, Yangdong staggers, yet his resolve remains intact. With a mixture of desperation and disbelief, he laughs, questioning how someone could possess the power to challenge him and stand before him with such unwavering confidence. At that moment, Zero walks towards him with steady steps, pointing his sword directly at his face as he issues a warning. He tells him that possessing power doesn't mean all the world's problems can be solved by force, suggesting that Yangdong, despite his vast strength, is merely a shadow of what a true god should be. Yangdong, weakened but still defiant, laughs incredulously. He cannot comprehend how anyone dares to imply there could be something capable of opposing him and his power. To him, being the strongest is synonymous with absolute supremacy. Zero calmly observes his opponent before raising his sword to the sky once more. With a graceful motion, he employs a technique called redemption, which clears all clouds from the sky, leaving the horizon open. The technique generates a series of luminous patterns that intertwine, forming a web of pure energy encircling Yangdong. Amidst this epic battle, Lin unleashes his final strike, a devastating attack that engulfs the evil god in dark flames. These flames, powerful and ominous, consume the villain's body, and his soul begins to separate, struggling to escape the searing pain. Lin's sword, forged specifically for this final showdown, absorbs the villain's soul, weakening the evil god until he is reduced to nothing but an empty shell. As our hero returns to his original form, the scene's atmosphere shifts from violent and explosive to something more solemn and melancholic. Here, in what seems like the villain's last breath, Lin gives him a chance to exchange a few final words. The villain, a mix of resignation and acceptance in his expression, admits that, compared to Lin Jae's newfound strength, he is nothing. He confesses that his power was never enough to fulfill his original purpose. This moment delves into a deep theme. The villain, now reduced to a fallen man on the ground, begins to reflect on his initial motivation for desiring power so desperately. With a saddened gaze, he recalls how he once wanted to protect someone he loved with all his might, but he failed. That failure became his breaking point, the moment when his objective became distorted. His desire to protect that special person drove him to seek more power, to the point of forgetting why he wanted it in the first place. He realizes that his original goal to save people and create a world without violence or sin was swallowed by his obsession with strength. As he advanced, his power grew, but it also took him further from his true self, transforming him into the world's most feared and evil being. He then asks the protagonist why he is so strong. The answer he receives is unexpected. Lin Jae opens up, showing his body covered in scars. Each of these wounds is the result of countless battles he has fought against monsters, aliens, and gods, all of whom sought to invade Earth. Lin Jae, scarred both physically and emotionally, reveals that his greatest concern has always been his sister. He thanks the villain that, at least, his face and hands are free of scars, allowing him to hide the wounds and avoid worrying her. Throughout the anime, the relationship between our hero and his sister has been tense. But here we see a new side. Although she is sometimes seen as somewhat toxic, Lin Jae acknowledges that she is important to him and that, ultimately, they have fought together in this war. When the villain tries to ask Lin Jae about a woman he saw within his mind during the battle, the hero quickly refuses to talk about it. He makes it clear that this subject is personal and asks him not to call him Zero anymore, the name of his former self as a hero. This title was left behind long ago when he realized he could no longer bear the burden of being a symbol of hope for the world. After this brief conversation, the villain, who was once a hero himself, begins to fade into dust, accepting his fate. With a sad smile, the villain thanks the protagonist for being the one who once lit his path, recognizing that he was the only person capable of eradicating the darkness within him. As his body disappears, there is a sense of closure, both for the villain and for our protagonist, who once were comrades and now confront the reality of their divergent fates. Shortly after the battle, emergency services arrive at the ruins of the building where the final confrontation took place. Everything is destroyed, but the threat has been eliminated. Our hero, exhausted, leans against a wall next to his sister, who appears confused about what has happened. With a calm expression, he tells her that, as her older brother, it is his duty to always be there to protect her whenever she needs him. No matter how dangerous the challenge, he will always be by her side. She, somewhat concerned, confesses that she didn't wear the necklace. He gave her a device that could alert him to any danger. She explains that she was afraid of involving him in something too dangerous. Lin Jae, though slightly disappointed, reminds her that he is now a registered hero, powerful enough to face any threat. Despite their differences, their bond as siblings is evident, and he asks her that, if something bad happens in the future, she should seek him out immediately so they can face it together. The conversation ends with his sister slightly annoyed but agreeing with him. Later, as evening falls, Lin is left alone, staring out at the sea, lost in thought. The memories of everything he has endured overwhelm him, all the battles, the losses, and the recent death of someone close. While contemplating the water, the figure of Dong appears to keep him company. She shares some important news. She has decided to move to another city, where she hopes to fulfill her dream of becoming a teacher at a school for heroes. It's a big step for her, and it's clear that our hero has had a significant influence on her life, giving her a freedom she had never felt before. Just before leaving, Dong surprises him by stealing a kiss. It's a moment fans have long awaited, as Lin Jae, while skilled in battle, seems to know very little about love. And with that, Dong says her farewell, and so does the series, coming to an end. But wait, a new threat is on the horizon for Zero, promising a return in the next season.